this is Sabina at Cross Keys Crafts with my video for the March artist trading card for visible image. Apologies for my voice, I'm still croaky. If it's not better this week, I'll have to see a doctor, I think, because I've had it since Christmas, but never mind. The topic for this month's ATC is spring greens. And I don't have a lot of green inks. I only own the Elements Pine and the Lime Punch, and I've got the Ranger Mode Lord, which is very similar to the Pine. But I have recently mixed my own, because I do own these two Distress Oxide refills, the Squeeze Lemonade and the Blueprint Sketch. I don't own the pads for these actually, and I got myself some blank ink pads the other day, and I actually mixed some of these colours in different ratios. So I've got a darker green and I've got a lighter green, and I'm also using my yellow today because I have chosen the golden daffodils stamps for this theme here, which I think is just apt for spring and green. I have already outlined the approximate size of my card. It will be slightly smaller. I just thought I'd like to work on a slightly bigger card, and then I can always cut it to size, and it gives me an idea where to put my stamp. I've also already cut a mask just out of copy paper. It's actually a scrap, just to get an idea where I want to place my inks, and I will probably use this to mask the image of once it's stamped, to do something with the background, but I haven't quite thought it through yet. I've got some foil here at the side, I might use that, but I don't know yet. Sometimes I just get the idea in the process. So what I want to do first is I want to put some colour down in the background, and the reason why I've placed these here, I want to know where I put the lighter colour, which will be where the actual flowers are, and then the rest will be a mix of these greens. So I just wanted to show you this. I'm not going to bore you with how I put ink blend on the cards. You've seen me do that before. I just use my ink blending brushes and I just apply the colour very randomly. I'm not a perfect ink blender, and I will do this now off screen, and I will leave this to dry as well before I continue with the next step. Okay, so I have inked up the card. I stopped using my brush actually because I had some residue on the side. I need to wash these. I actually have got some new ones on order because at the moment I was just using one for the green, and I will actually in future use one for the darker greens and one for the lighter ones. So I went on to using my ink dauber, and that was actually much smoother on this cardstock. So play around with the supplies you do have. And I used, as I said, I used the yellow on these bits here. I then used the lime punch here and a mix of my self-made ink pads and the pine on the side, and then I went back with the dauber without putting any more green on it and went over the yellow again just to tone it down a little bit and keep it more in the green theme. So now I can use my stamp, which I've already got on the side here, and I also got another one on my platform that I actually need to remove. So, and I'm going to align this here. I actually have to move the card up a little bit because it is a big stamp. And I know it will come off the card a little bit, but the main thing is that I've got most of the flowers on the flower heads on the ATC. So I think I'll move it over a bit. I don't mind this being cut off a little bit, but I think I want this to be mostly on there. So that's fine. So press this down again. So, and I want to stamp this again. I want to stamp this in green. So I hope it will be enough contrast. I just used my pine, and oops. Sorry if I'm doing this off screen. I've got this here on the side, so I'm just inking this up. Sometimes I find this green is not wet enough to actually work for the stamping. I just clean my stamping platform outside a bit. I pressed a bit hard. But the good thing about the stamping platform is you can always stamp it again if it's not thick enough or clear enough. Yeah, I think I will go over that again. There's a bit of residue. I'll tell you what, there might be a bit of residue from black ink before, so not too fussed about that. But I'm going to stamp it once more. And then I shall zoom in for you to see. And apologies if the camera is wobbling. It's obviously attached to my desk. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Let me just zoom in. So I like that the fact that the behind the flowers it's a bit yellow. I could have actually gone a bit lower with the yellow, but it doesn't matter. It's enough as a hint. So I'm leaving this to dry now whilst I'm thinking about how to embellish the rest with my green inks that I do own. So I would like to embellish the sides of the card with some green foil, and for that I'm going to use this Deco Foil Transfer Gel Duo. I'm going to apply that with my fan brush very thinly, and once that has dried for about an hour it gets tacky, and then I can put it through the die cutting machine with the foil and the foil will adhere. So I'm just basically want to create some brush strokes. Apologies if you hear any noises. Pub's open this afternoon, don't know what's happening. Ooh. This time I didn't use the masking magic, I just cut it out of paper, so I have to hold it in place a little bit. You can use other glues for the foil. I've seen it done with other glues, but I find this one the most reliable. So I want it to be a bit uneven, a bit grungy. Try not to get onto the mask and just leave it as this is. So first thing important, seal this off straight away. I'm taking the mask off now, leave it to dry. Try not to brush it over, and then I'm going to wash my brush straight away as well, because otherwise it'll just get hard. And I'm just seeing I've got a bit of excess here. It's a bit thicker than in other places, but it doesn't matter because that is the bit that I'm cutting off anyway. So I don't know if you can see how much I've actually have applied. It doesn't look much at the moment, but it will look nice once I've adhered the foil. So as I said, I'm leaving this to dry for about an hour now, and I will touch it then and it should be tacky, and then I can apply the foil and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so the glue is tacky. This only took about, I'd say, half an hour. I didn't really watch the clock there because I was busy making a card to go with this, which I will show you afterwards. When you put this aside, little tip, don't do what I did. I forgot that this was drying, so I've got a bit of paper residue because I put some paper on the top there, actually the packaging from the flower, but I think it'll be okay because I will just cut it on that line anyway. And another thing why this is torn here, and this is why I left the card a bit bigger, because I had glued this down on my tile here for colouring in. So again, this is an advantage of keeping it bigger. You can glue it down, stick it down, and then you can tear this easily off without causing damage to the actual card. So I've got my foil here now. So I'm just going to place this over the card, over the glue, with the coloured side up. I'm going to press this down. Already I can see where the glue is, but I'm going to put this through my die cutting machine now to apply pressure, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Just doing this off screen here on the side, and I've got my machine. Just a normal sandwich as if you would have with a die, but if you find it's not enough pressure, which I find just now, I'm going to put some cardstock on the top for some extra pressure and for a bit of a shim. So just a bit on top, just like that. One piece should do it. Yeah. Just play around with your die cutting machine and get a feel for how much pressure you do need. So I'm taking this off, and you can already see it there. And there we go. So I've got foil here where I applied the glue. And I like the grungy look of it. That was my idea, to use the fan brush, because you can actually see the brush strokes. I hope it catches there. So yeah, I'm really pleased with this. If you ever have any residue after foiling something, you can use your anti-static powder tool to just get rid of this, but this is fine. This feels fine, so that worked well. So I'm now thinking about just adding a bit more green in the middle here, so it's not too exposed. Sometimes less is more, but I'll show you what I've done with the card to go with this. So as with the other one, I have just ink blended on it. I used some of the darker ink, and this was really saturated, so I blended this out. And then I did some faux bleaching. I just used this smaller daffodil stamp. I showed you that in my, I think it was, yeah, it was my last ATC video, and I've got another video up there where I'm doing this, so I'm not showing the technique again. Then I stamped this in black, and I used my metallic gilding polish. This is the Lime Burst, and just on the side on an acrylic block, I always use this for putting colour on the side. I never use this for stamping. I just diluted this paste with water, and then you can use it like normal metallic ink, and you can actually apply it with a brush. I just spotted could go a bit higher. It does cover the black lines a bit, but I'm not too fussed about this. And then I watered it down even more and splattered on it. I have got a spray box, which is a shoe box, because it does make a lot of mess. And also I find that the gilding polish, when you use it like on stencils, it is quite difficult to get rid of it, so try not to mess up your desk with it. So that's what I've done with this, is that I'm going to remedy this bit. So I'm thinking about putting a bit of the gilding polish on this card as well. And the other thing I've done with some residue, I've just inked up this residue of the gilding polish. I just inked up this piece of cardstock. I will use that as a mat for my sentiment on the front of the card, but I will not have a sentiment on this. I decided against it because I wanted the foil to stand out. So I'm having a quick think whether I want to colour this in, but it needs a bit of focus on the actual flower now. So I'll switch the camera off for a moment, and I'll come back to show you what I've decided to do. Okay, I didn't want to do too much to it, so I've just decided to colour in the leaves here and the stems of the flowers. So I've taken my ink pad, and that's the darkest one, the one that I created myself. It is a bit chalky, but I think this would be nice as a contrast, and I've just watered it down with some water. I've got a thin brush, so I'm just using this to colour this in. I've thought about using my alcohol markers, but then they are easily too thick, and I didn't want to ruin this. So, and it's actually nicely absorbed by the cardstock, so it will blend in nicely with the background and won't be too harsh. And I think I still have a bit of residue of the gilding polish on it as well, because I can just see a hint of shimmer, which is really nice. So, and it's very easy, just because you just have to stay in the outer lines. I'm not worried about the lines on the inside. There you go. So it's just a hint of a shimmer, and I think I'm quite happy with that. I would love to do something to the flowers, but I'm a bit worried that I will just do too much to them then. So, because sometimes, especially after my experience with my last card that I recreated with the ATC, it's easy to just have too much. So I'm just leaving this to dry. I'm going to cut it to size, and then I'll show you the finished card with the finished ATC with a finished card to go with it. Okay, so here's my finished ATC. I'm really pleased with this. I had to cut it down quite a bit on the side and also at the bottom, but I think it still works well with the image. In hindsight, I would have gone a bit lighter after all, but it does meet the brief of spring green, so I'm really pleased with this. And as I said, this is the matching card that I'm going to send off with this. I have cut out the sentiment, I rounded it off at the corners, so I always find that as a nice finish. Put this on the mat that I created with the metallic gilding polish, and you can see there all the shine on the splatters. The full bleaching hasn't come through as much as I would have liked it to, but it's okay because it's just a background feature to just make it a bit look more grungy. So yeah, I'm really pleased with this. If you like this ATC and the matching card, you might want to give me a thumbs up. And if you'd like to subscribe to my channel to see more of what I'm creating, I'd be very happy about that. And I'll see you soon with another video.